Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about how to get a flat stomach. No, it's not diet and exercise like everyone tells you. While don't get me wrong, those are super important components. But you might be doing those things and finding you're not getting the exact results you want. Especially if you've had kids. This is super, super important to you. But if you haven't had kids, this is a huge tip and something you probably need to work on as well. I want to talk to you today about the transverse abs as well as the pelvic floor. Why these are so important is because if we sort of think of our core as a can, okay? So we're going to take a can of soup, okay? So that's what your core is. And the bottom is your pelvic floor. It's, it gives and takes. It's not like a metal substance. But should that metal floor be weak or the pelvic floor be weak, men too, you're not safe, okay? Every time we're squeezing this canister, what's happening? We're pushing out. We're putting pressure on the pelvic floor. We're pushing it down. Then we take into consideration gravity. Our organs are just hanging on that pelvic floor. When we have kids, when we have weight gain, when there's any kind of trauma, again, we're weakening that pelvic floor. If we're not working on it, if we're not strengthening it, it can lead to so many things. I've had so many clients and so many women tell me that they pee a little bit when they sneeze, or they laugh, or they can't jump on a trampoline. I can't do jumping jacks. Yes, these are kind of funny jokes, and it's so common that everyone makes fun of it, but it's actually can lead to health issues, and it can be fixed, okay? So women, especially pregnancy and delivery, puts so much pressure on our pelvic floor. And then after that, we may not be strengthening it the way it should be. Then we hit menopause. And guess what? Our muscle tone, because of changing hormones, changes even further. What can happen with that is prolapse. That means our organs fall down, literally. Another reason this is so important, again, especially to women who have had children, is diastasis. What that essentially means is that the wall, the abdominal wall, will separate and pull apart. Super common. There's not a ton you can do to avoid it. There's a lot of factors that come into play here. If you have it, it's not the end of the world and it can be rectified, but that's the thing. It needs to be rehabbed and healed properly. Way too many women have this diastasis, a separation of the abs. What happens? As soon as they have their baby, they're like, I want baby body back. And they get down, they're doing crunches and they're doing planking and they're doing like hardcore ab exercises. And guess what you're doing? You're pulling that apart. And then not only that, the muscle is going to rebuild itself in a peak position. That's the mom pooch. That muscle wall without surgery, once it's healed like that, will never get back to being flat. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you about, and what the secret is the transverse abs. This is the innermost important muscle for the core strength, and we have the abdominis recti on top, which is what everybody works all the time. And if you take a look at somebody who has a six-pack, 99% of the time, their core is like pushing out. Or a guy who has a six-pack, they kind of are starting to develop that turtle shell appearance on their core. I will share some pictures here of me when I was competing where my core was quite thick, and that was something that I never really appreciated about my body, but I didn't know any better. Today, after two kids in under 2 years, my core is actually smaller and tighter than it was when I was competing. So this is that important. So what we need to do here is stop putting so much emphasis on the crunches and on I had a trainer once when I was competing, and he always used to say to me after workouts, okay, go do 1,000 crunches before you leave. Me, I just go in the corner and just hammer it out. What do you think is the quality of those crunches by the time you get to like 90 or maybe even 900, okay? What was I doing? I was probably straining my neck. I was probably like cranking on this abdominis recti. No wonder I didn't have this tight core. Nobody taught me how to do it properly. And it's actually, you can hardly even tell when you're doing it. So you can literally do it while you're driving, you're in line at the grocery store, you're on the phone with your friend. Just be mindful and make it a habit, and it actually becomes part of your posture. So This muscle works as a natural corset. It's going to pull in your core. It's going to keep it tight. It's going to alleviate that pooch. It's going to decrease your risk of back injuries, back pain, and basically bringing the entire abdominal muscle group together in nice and tight. So you might have heard of pulling your belly button into your spine, and essentially that is the movement you need to grasp. But I'm going to get into a lot more detail here for you today on how you can do it. So typically when most people are doing abdominal work, this is what they're doing. Pushing out, working these upper abdominal muscles. We're pushing it out. What that does, it kind of puts a lot of pressure on these lower abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor that are most likely weaker than the upper muscles. What that's doing, it's giving that pooch effect. It's pushing everything out. It's pushing it down. It's not only, it's keeping this weaker, but it's pushing it out. What we want to do is affect our posture and pull it in. The posture that you want to be conscious of is we're not going to be popping that booty like everyone's doing in all their selfies. We actually want to tuck the pelvis under. We want to close the ribs as if you're about to cough. Okay, so we don't want ribs popping out either. Everything's closed, nice and tight. Now from here, you might have to take some time to get in touch with your pelvic floor, but I need to remind you that everything is connected. So if you're doing a Kegel and you're not feeling it in your abs, know that you can actually go deeper and it can all work as one unit, and we need to get to that point. So from here, like I said, you're hardly going to be able to tell. You can do this anywhere. And I'll show you a little tip after when you're first learning. Okay, so we want to basically pull from the pelvic floor, the Kegel, pull in like this. Yeah, that's an exercise. That's strengthening my transverse abs, okay? It's pulling your belly button in. It's doing a Kegel and tightening all together as one unit. Like I said, you can do this anywhere. I'm totally engaged right now. I'm not sucking in, I'm flexing it, I'm working those muscles, and we're strengthening them. If you're just starting out and you find that it's hard to get this movement, you can contact a pelvic floor physiotherapist who will be able to help you with that. Or you can also try and stand against a wall, have your back against the wall, and the idea is that we're going to try and push the lower back into the wall. Flatten it into the wall. Don't forget to do that Kegel movement at the same time, but we're trying to flatten this back and this curvature into the wall. Okay? So like I said, there's hardly any movement. If you are a person that works out super hard and does a ton of ab work all the time, I think it's really important that you incorporate this into your exercise routine. You can keep doing all the other stuff. Just keep this new posture in mind. And we want to strengthen every muscle of our body because we want them to work together in balance. So I'm not saying don't do crunches. I'm just saying do them correctly and don't forget about the other muscles. They might be ones that we don't physically see, but we definitely see the results from.